This is where you were. Pyra!
Sorry, Rex. I couldn't tell you. Because... I got an invitation to join Smash!
Yeah, everyone wants more Swordfighter in this amazing
Alright, let's talk about it. The Smash Bros. Argument every time a character with the gender of an anime protagonist gets announced.
Man, there's just too many anime sword fighters in Smash Bros.
Which does indeed bring sad gamer noises to all the lads and laddies of the land. Now, the thing is, a lot of people kind of disregard others who are complaining and kind of keep it moving, which is the healthy thing to do. They probably, eat salads every day. They go out, they touch grass, they go on walks, but I have the gender of gamer, so I'm not going to do any of that. So in today's video, I'm going to take one for the team and break down and tackle this argument piece by piece. I figured to actually take this argument seriously and pinpoint if this opinion is justified or if it belongs in the bin of trash Smash community takes right there with spirits can't be fighters and Sakurai should be fired from his job for putting these characters in. And let's just say, the results will surprise you. Is that how that goes, or is this? So before we get into it, I just want to make a few disclaimers just before we truly get into the video. For one, alright, and it's unfortunate that I have to say this, but I'm not talking about every single person to ever exist that likes Smash Bros. I'm not talking about the entire Smash community. Only those that fit into the criteria of complaining. So if you're a person sending tweets just like the ones that I showed you, the textbook examples as they will, then this video is just for you. Just as there are people that are very negative, there are quite a few epic gamers out there that don't care for the character, but appreciate that their respective community enjoys a fighter. I'm not talking about y'all. So, don't let what I show you guys today let you define the whole community, alright? I mean, look at me, a fellow unproblematic virgin gamer. Alright, I get it, man. Shut up. And two, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really didn't think I'd get this far. I thought you guys would have clicked off, but you're not going to, right? You're just gonna get your hand off that. Actually, you know what? Here, I got you. Here, rest your mouse right here. I heard that 70% of mouses actually don't have the big sad when taking the spot. Anyways, gamers, let's get into it. And with all that being said, roll it. Okay, well, let's take it back to the very beginning. What spawned this whole thing of there's too many anime sword fighters in Smash Bros? Well, while I feel like this argument has been the most discussed with the additions of Pyra and Mythra in Smash Bros, announced back in February of 2021, the concept of an anime sword fighter actually goes back to the very beginning with characters like Link. I mean, the dude literally fits the criteria, having those anime eyes, body type, alongside wielding a sword in his hand to fight for a good portion of his moveset. Now, this anime sword fighter concept would only grow with the other Smash games that come into our grubby little hands. Melee has Marth, Roy, and Young Link. Brawl has Toon Link, Ike, Pit, and Meta Knight. Smash 4 has Lucina, Robin, Shulk, the Sword Fighter, Cloud, Corrin, Dark Pit, and if you really want to stretch it, you could technically say Greninja to a certain extent. Then we have Ultimate, which, fun fact, had no stereotypical anime sword fighter in the base roster. Now, with all the DLC that's coming out, even more of these archetypes got released, like, for example, Joker, Hero, Sephiroth, Byleth, and hell, even Steve. Look at this cute little anime boy here. Thus leading people to talk about how we have too many anime sword fighters in the DLC for Smash Ultimate. Now, in my opinion, from what I've seen of people explaining why they're angry about this archetype of fighter getting announced for the DLC multiple times, I think that their anger is misplaced, like a lot misplaced. I'm gonna get more into detail about this later, but yes, that is how I feel about this situation in a TLDR. I think the side that says things about an anime sword fighter are extremely unreasonable as to why they reject the anime sword fighter archetype almost immediately, and a good portion of them contradict this. So real quick, I'm gonna explain why I think this way, then we'll get into the other stuff. So let's start with the base argument. So I feel immediately there's an issue concerning this whole anime sword fighter argument, and honestly, it's a contradiction that people make. Now, I actually recorded a bit after Pyra and Mythra got announced when seeing the backlash that the character was getting. So real quick, I'm gonna show you guys kind of bits and pieces of what I was saying, then I'll explain in more detail. So play the clip, Jared. So what's up, everyone? I want to rant for a bit. I'm recording this. I don't know when. Probably whenever we do the first impressions video. I'm recording this way before. This is during the reveal, and I just want to say something. I gotta address this, bro, because this is so annoying. Whenever a new character gets announced, recently, people always have a issue with it, a problem with it. And it's like, you know, I'm gonna point out your hypocrisy. All right, I'm gonna show you. And this is the thing that I've learned about not only like Smash fans, but just in general. The fans don't ever know what they want, and that's a damn fact. Now, you wanted me to prove that you don't know what you want? The common complaint about Pyra Myth is that, oh, it's another anime sword fighter. I'm so tired of anime sword fighters in Smash Bros. I want to make Crash Bandicoot. Okay. Alright, so let's take your logic. So one of the most requested characters in Smash Bros that people want is Sora from Kingdom Hearts. So you want Sora in Smash. Everybody and their mother wants Sora in Smash Bros. I wouldn't have any problem with that if it weren't completely hypocrisized by the fact that you want an anime sword. So you don't want an anime sword fighter, yet you want Kingdom Hearts. You want Sora from Kingdom Hearts from Smash. And if you don't want to use that example, you want Dante from Devil May Cry, which is an anime sword fighter. He fights with a sword. Oh, but he uses guns. He fights with a sword. Then you want Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia in Smash, which I wouldn't have a problem with. I don't care, as long as they're unique. But you don't want an anime sword fighter. But you want Sora in Smash. But you don't want an anime sword fighter. You don't know what you want. Pyra and Mythra have shown multiple abilities that they can use that the other sword fighters can't. Still mad at it. On top of that, they're a stance change character, something that we haven't gotten since the daggone Pokemon trainer. Yet you're still angry. They're a unique character that brings something to the table, but you're still angry. Listen, man, it's fine if you don't want the characters in, but don't be so stupid as to say, oh, I don't want an anime sword fighter. Yeah, the same people saying that want Dante from Devil May Cry and Sora from Kingdom Hearts. So if you don't want, if your whole thing is you don't want anime sword fighter, I don't ever want to see, no, I want Sora from Kingdom Hearts, or I want Dante from Devil May Cry. No, you say you didn't want any anime sword fighters. So those guys are out the list, alright? Just so we're clear, So, as I've calmed down and assessed the problem, I realized to myself, I really looked deep into myself and said that I'm completely right. I honestly, I agree with literally everything I said. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that people are unintentionally hypocritical towards this whole anime sword fighter thing, considering that the one character that everyone raves about wanting in Smash Bros. Is Sora from Kingdom Hearts, who is both an anime sword fighter and a sword fighter. Hey, dumbass, he doesn't use a sword. Use a Keyblade, you freaking loser. Well, guess what, dumbass? It literally has blade in the name, first of all. And second of all, he swings it like a sword and... You know what? Listen, I want to hear it. It's a sword, mother trucker. But unfortunately, that's not all, because I do realize that maybe some people don't care about Sora. How about a character that people have been raving about as well, Isaac from Golden Sun? I know, especially before he was confirmed to be an assist trophy, a lot of people wanted him to be a fighter. And the thing is that he's literally a sword user with magic. The thing that a lot of people complain about and fall under the category of anime sword fighter. And I remember quite a lot of people wanting Isaac from Golden Sun. I'm sure these are the same people, maybe, you know. But you might be saying to yourself, well, you know what? Maybe the community of Golden Sun and the community of people who hate the anime sword fighter trope is kind of different in that aspect. And you know what? I agree with you. Just in case, though, how about we do another character? Let's try Dante from Devil May Cry. I know a lot of people for months and months, more specifically towards the end of Fighter Pass 1, have wanted Dante from Devil May Cry. Or, for a more recent example, how about Travis Touchdown? You know, the guy that's like a literal joke on the Stereotype? How about the Monster Hunter from Monster Hunter? Chrono from Chrono Trigger. Even characters like Ryu Hayabusa can be seen as an anime sword fighter. However, these characters aren't universally hated by the community, like how they saw Pyra and Mythra when they first got revealed, or how the hero from Dragon Quest was taken by us cow-milking, tax-paying Westerners. Yeehaw! Now, keep in mind, I just want to make this clear. I'm not talking about those who don't want the anime aesthetic in there at all, because I do realize there are people like that. I'm only talking about the people that directly contradict themselves by saying this as nicely as I can say, this very misguided argument that they present in this hatred they have for this type of stereotype when they want the stereotype in Smash Bros. And before you say it, I know this is just a guess of mine, but I find it highly unlikely that every single person that talks about an anime sword fighter being bad doesn't want any of the fighters that I mentioned previously. Better yet, let's phrase it as this. They would be fine with the characters that I mentioned being in Smash Bros. So, if Dante did get revealed in Smash Bros. And he was over here slashing and dashing, people would be fine with it. No one would hate it like they do for characters like Byleth or like characters like Pyra and Mythra. Okay, so with that being said, I kind of want to split the argument into two. So first, we're going to be talking about the anime part of anime sword fighter and the sword fighter part of the anime sword fighter. So let's start off with the anime part of the argument, since I feel this is a more straightforward point. So there are people that dislike the typical anime stereotype that the typical anime sword fighter exhibits. You know, the spiky hair, the extremely fit figure, followed by a sword that would make Harry Potter's cheeks turn red. Expelliarmus! Characters like Shulk, Cloud, Pit, and Link, and even characters like the hero or Joker as more recent examples. Characters that have the traits are kind of disregarded as nothing more than another anime protagonist character that joined the cesspool of K-pop stars that we call an anime sword fighter. And my argument to this is, you know, I know it's very shocking. This is a very shocking revelation that'll probably turn your life upside down and whatnot, but you do realize that this is a Japanese company making the game, right? You do realize that this isn't a Western company. This is a Japanese company. It's just you knew that? Oh, then that argument you had, bubkiss. Of course, a lot of the characters are gonna have Japanese stereotypes. That's how a lot of characters in media like manga and anime are drawn. I mean, compare that to all the extremely muscular male and female characters from Western culture are, like Superman, Spider-Man, Captain America, Deadpool, etc., 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 that are drawn in comics in the West. It's literally the same thing, so I don't see why the whole anime stereotypes are such a big deal. And I do realize that characters like Mario exist, but fun fact, Mario was initially based off of Popeye, an American cartoon. It's literally a culture thing in Japan. That's it. They're bound to have characters that have that typical aesthetic. And I don't understand why it has to be such a problem and for you to hate a character just because the Japanese company put a fighter that was created in Japan.
What are you saying?
Once again, I'm not saying you have to like it, but to say that there are too many of them, it's like, I really don't understand the big deal about it. As long as the character is different, it really doesn't matter on how they look, to be honest with you. Okay, now let's talk about the sword fighter part of anime sword fighter. Alright, we got the anime part out there. Let's talk about the sword fighter part of the anime sword fighter. Now, the sword fighter part is one that I more understand, which we'll get into later, don't worry. But the general basis, I still can't agree with. So just bear with me real quick. So if you really think about it, a sword fighter is really just a class of character that's used in a lot of fighting games, alongside brawler types, shooting/zoning types. Just because the character fights with a sword or some other type of pointed weapon, that doesn't mean that they all fight similarly. Cloud and Shulk aren't anything alike, even though they both mainly fight with a sword. And those characters don't fight similarly to Link, who doesn't fight anything like Marth, and so on and so forth. Using the logic that those people use, I can say that Little Mac and Captain Falcon are barely different just because they mostly use their body to fight, their bodies and punches to fight. I could also use the example of Little Mac and Donkey Kong's Neutral Beam. Both attacks are wind up punches punches. At the end of the day, breaking it down, essentially that's what it is. Does that mean that they're the same move? They're the same exact move just because they're both punching moves? Are Rosalina and the Ice Climbers the same character just because they're both two characters fighting at the same time? Hell no. I don't see anyone who says that. However, just because the hero and Link have similar dash attacks, that automatically means that they're the same character according to the logic that people use. That is what we call poppycock. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. A sword fighter is literally just a classification of character, guys. It doesn't mean that they're the same at all. So let's stop that argument as well. It makes no sense. Okay, so far I'm not really rocking with this whole anime sword fighter argument. But it really doesn't make sense when breaking the argument down and thinking about exactly what anime sword fighter really means. Hey, hold up, don't go just yet, relax, stay a while, take your coat off, alright, sit down, hold on, because guess what, beneath all the BS of this argument, I actually do think there's some merit to it that really isn't talked about, so let's discuss it, shall we? So, in my opinion, when thinking about this anime sword fighter argument, I thought of 3 different reasons as to why maybe there's a misguided mentality when it comes to characters like these joining the roster. Number 1, people don't want that specific character and use the anime sword fighter thing as a way to say, I don't like that character. Okay, so this one's pretty obvious and pretty straightforward, to be fair. If you don't like the characters, you're completely entitled to your opinion. And it's fine to be disappointed or sad that X character got in and not the one you legitimately wanted to be in Smash. However, you don't have to hide it. And you also don't have to spout some dumb, stupid argument just to validate yourself, if that makes any sense. If you don't like the character, you don't like the character. That's completely fine. However, saying that in a general sense, this character is bad because it's an anime sword fighter character, just say that you don't like the character itself and move on. Boom. Tag it. Number 2, a lot of sword fighters have examples of echo fighters or characters that aesthetically fight similar to each other. Okay, so you remember when we talked about sword fighters and how I said that just because they have the classification of sword fighters, that doesn't mean that they fight similar to each other? Okay, so no backpedaling, because I do think this is still true and we shouldn't be bashing a character just because they fight with swords, but it hasn't helped that there has been a lot of sword fighters that have movesets similar to other characters. So let's bring up a few examples. First of all, I just want to make this clear because I know someone's gonna go in the comment section and talk about, oh, these characters don't fight similarly at all. These characters fight completely differently. I'm not saying, and I want to make this perfectly clear, I am not saying that these characters are the exact same characters. I am not saying that these characters are the exact same characters. I want to say this one more time. I am not saying that these characters are the exact same characters. There's nothing to do about that. I am talking about from strictly aesthetic. I'm not saying that X fighter fights like this fighter. I'm saying that aesthetically, if you look at the moveset, I understand hitboxes and stuff are completely different. I'm saying if you look aesthetically about what the character is actually doing, yes, they do have similar movements. I just want to say this now. I am not saying that these fighters fight the same, okay? Let's get that down packed. I'm not saying that. So shut up. Let's start with the links. So, as you guys know, there are 3 links in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There's Toon Link, Young Link, and Regular Link. All 3 of these links do have similar qualities to each other. For one, they're all linked. Their names are all linked. I think that's a pretty obvious observation that them, from an aesthetic point of view, pretty similar. It doesn't help that while I do think Breath of the Wild Link from a design standpoint looks different from the other 2 links, I still do think Toon Link and Young Link, with them wearing similar clothing all the way to the moves, some of the moves that they do are pretty similar in a way. All 3 have a down B involving them pulling out a bomb, their side B is pulling out a boomerang, their up special is a spin attack upwards, and their neutral B has them throw out an arrow. Link and Young Link have neutral air that have them do a sex kick, all 3 of their forward smash, all 3 of their down smashes, all 3 of their down airs, and I'm only talking about the part where they thrust the sword downwards, alright, pause, and so on and so forth. They all, for the most part, have aesthetically very similar movements to each other. You can clearly tell that they are based off of the same archetype of fighter that Sakura made, which is Link. The same thing applies to Pit and Dark Pit, but in this case, they're literally clones of each other. That's it. They literally the exact same character with very, very minor differences that ultimately doesn't matter. The Fire Emblem characters. Speaking of bunch of clones, we got Marth and Lucina, who are basically the same character. Then we got Roy and Chrom that got pretty much the same moveset besides the up special. And honestly, if we look at the Fire Emblem roster, there's 8 Fire Emblem characters total. That means they cover a fourth of the Fire Emblem characters that are in Smash Bros. So there are a lot of characters in the roster of Swordfighter specifically that are either clones of one another character or aesthetically fight very similar to each other, even though they're not clones of each other, with the Lynx being the prime example. However, they do come from the same inspiration of fighter. Number 3. It's not because they're anime sword fighters, but it's because a lot of the characters in the DLC are from some type of RPG. Now this is definitely an interesting argument here because this is something that I have thought about. Literally half of the entire cast so far of DLC fighters come from an RPG, and I think this is where things lie, and this is where people have problems with characters being similar to each other, or why they think the characters are similar to each other. They all, half the DLC roster comes from some sort of RPG. It doesn't have to be the traditional RPG either, but they do come from very similar RPGs. For example, for Fighter Pass 1, out of all the 6 characters that got announced, 3 of them are from an RPG. The Joker from Persona, which is an RPG. Hero from Dragon Quest, an RPG. Violet from Fire Emblem, which is a strategy RPG. Then, if we go to all the characters that are revealed so far as of the making of this video, we have Min Min, which comes from a fighting game, and Steve, that's come from a sandbox genre type game. However, then we have Sephiroth and Pyra and Mythra, both coming from RPGs. Sephiroth obviously coming from Final Fantasy VII, which is an RPG. Pyra and Mythra come from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is a JRPG, a Japanese RPG. They all come from a very similar background, which I would say from an aesthetic point of view makes people a little weary because they all come from very similar titles or from very similar genres of games, which ultimately makes it to where that they look similar, however they're not very similar, if that makes much sense. I think that's why people have a problem with Pyra and Mythra. I've heard one comment on Twitter, I'm probably not going to be able to find the tweet, but I have literally seen this comment, I promise you, where they said that it doesn't matter, there's nothing to do with it. This character looks like they came from Fire Emblem. Which, first of all, is just not true, because do you think that comes from a Fire Emblem is old time? Do you think that's gonna... Crazy you think that. And B, Fire Emblem and Xenoblade Chronicles are 2 types of RPGs. So I feel like this might be the reason as to why a lot of people are kind of mad on the idea of having all these characters available. They all come from RPGs. Simple as that. They come from similar backgrounds. So I think, honestly, when tackling these opinions, I think these are kind of the 3 main reasons that come to my mind when talking about why this argument could be a legit argument. And these arguments I can understand more than just saying these are anime sword fighters, if that makes any sense. If you have a problem with the DLC fighters because they come from a lot of RPGs and you're not particularly a fan of RPGs, then I can understand where the disappointment would come from. But then you have to understand at the end of the day that this is extra content that's being added to an already finished game. If it happens, it happens. If half the DLC roster turns out to be RPG characters, that's how it's gonna be. So at the end of the day, I think these are kind of the reasons why I personally feel that a lot of people misplace their hate when talking about this topic in particular. However, let's say that you disregard me and you deny every single thing that I say in this video. There is a couple things that I do want to say in terms of these arguments, and anyone that hates every character in Fighter Pass 2 now and in the future when the last couple fighters get revealed. Let's start off with this. You are entitled to your opinion. There's been times where we've all had disappointing characters in our own eye, and if you don't like the fighter, that's perfectly fine. You are completely valid to hate every character in the roster. That's perfectly fine. But saying that the roster is objectively trash is basically saying that you are the most important person in the world. Believe it or not, there are people that were happy about Pyra and Mythra being in Smash. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to be in denial or not. There are people that wanted Xenoblade Chronicles 2 characters to be in the DLC, whether you want to be in denial or not. There are people who like these characters. So why not let them enjoy their character, rather than you projecting your opinion to a bunch of people that don't care in the long run? You're just adding unnecessary negativity to the situation, and it's really not needed. Believe it or not, there are people that didn't like the announcement of Banjo-Kazooie. However, their opinion doesn't devalue the excitement that you felt about the character when they were first released. And I only use Banjo-Kazooie just because that's a fighter that a lot of people were happy about. There are people that enjoy all the other fighters. I'm not just talking about Pyra and Mythra. There are people who enjoy Min Min. There are people who enjoy Steve. There are people that enjoy Sephiroth. And yes, plenty of people enjoy Pyra and Mythra. Just let them enjoy their character like how you enjoyed yours. Even the most hated character to date, Byleth, was still very popular and wanted in Japan, and fun fact, was on the top 5 list of a fan poll released a while ago of people's most wanted fighters in that region. In Japan, Byleth was a top 5 priority among the Japanese audience, so it's clear who they were appealing to with the inclusion of Byleth. Though people act like no one in the world wanted them to be in prior to the announcement just because they themselves didn't want the character in, when that's just not true. If I'll be honest for a second, don't judge me, because, you know, I'm sensitive. I'm personally not really a huge fan of Crash getting in Smash Bros, to be honest. I don't know why. I just don't care if he gets in. I don't give a damn whether he gets in or not gets in. But even though I don't give a damn whether he's in or not, I will still be happy for those that wanted him to be in, regardless of my own opinion of the character. Basically, the world doesn't revolve around you, and your opinion is not the only one that matters. Not in the slightest. So stop acting like your opinion, even if you think it does, even if you want to have that big of an ego, stop thinking that it defines everyone else's opinions, because newsflash, the world does not revolve around you. Also, stop saying that these characters don't deserve to be in Smash as well. That argument is so dumb. Just because you don't want to educate yourself on the importance of the character, whether the character is important to gaming history as a whole, or if their game is important to their respective franchise, that doesn't give you the right to judge whether a character deserves to be in the roster or not based on only your opinion and only on your limited knowledge of the material. Yes. Alright, some characters like Banjo, K. Rool, and Ridley mostly get in due to large amounts of fan demand. However, look at Pyra and Mythra, aka Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That's the game they came from. Xenoblade Chronicles series in general was such a niche series, and no one, and I repeat, no one knew or cared about it until Shulk was announced as a fighter in Smash 4. Ever since then, the series has gotten 2 re-releases of the first game, one on the Switch and one on the new 3DS, and 2 other titles in the series, those being Xenoblade Chronicles X and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, with this recent one, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, easily being the most popular overall and pushed the series into the eyes of so many people. It does deserve to be in Smash Bros because the game is important to the respective series that it represents, the Xenoblade Chronicles series, as it once again pushed the franchise to the mainstream media. The series and Monolith Soft as a whole is going to keep getting this treatment of them upgrading, especially with the fact that it's been confirmed that Monolith Soft is expanding by hiring more devs. Another example, let's look at Byleth, another hated character. Byleth's the exact same way, with Fire Emblem Three Houses being important to the Fire Emblem history books, a series represented in Smash Bros. If the series is being represented in Smash Bros, you have to have some of the most important figureheads of that respective series, and Byleth with Fire Emblem Three Houses is an important figurehead in that respective series. It's one of the best-selling games in the series' history, and on top of that, introduces new elements that may be mainstays in the Fire Emblem games from here on out, similar to the reason why there are 3 different Fire Emblem Awakening characters, because Fire Emblem Awakening was the turning point of the Fire Emblem series. Persona 5 is another example of this. Before Persona 5, there wasn't a ton of people that really cared about Persona, and a lot of people's introductions to the series was Persona 5, thus having Joker in Smash Bros representing the Persona series. Even their spin-off game that's not even an RPG is selling 1.3 million copies and counting. Then there's legacy fighters like Hero, a character that I would say got entirely too much hate because people don't like doing research on the fact that Dragon Quest was literally the pioneer of the RPG genre, and without it, you wouldn't have some of your favorite RPG games that you all love too well. I don't even have to talk about Minecraft's popularity, for obvious reasons. And Sephiroth is the most influential villains of gaming. All of these fighters, whether you want to admit it or not, deserve to be in a game like Smash Bros. And all have good and specific reasons as to their inclusion. Finally, stop sending hate to the people who work on the game. Listen, at the end of the day, we're lucky to have Fighter Pass 2, and even if, like I said, you hate every single character, at least you had potential to get more content. It could have and probably should have ended a long time ago, but it didn't, because the Smash team wants to make sure that they make the best Smash game that they possibly can. Don't send them any hate. It's not even them who decided to put the characters in Smash Bros. It was Nintendo who did that. Now, I'm not saying Nintendo should pay for what they did. In fact, how about this? How about you sit your ass down and don't harass anybody just because they're giving you extra content years after the game was already released? I know it's hard for you not to project your hateful statements to random strangers on Twitter rather than going to your 10-person Discord server and sending them 12-point font essays discussing your distaste, but do not harass the people giving you content that you clearly take for granted. For those people who are like, oh, but about the DLC, about all of it, man, it's not fair. If you bought the DLC fully priced, that's your fault and no one else's. Sakurai made it abundantly clear beforehand to not buy the DLC unless you're absolutely sure that you will buy all the characters. And honestly, if we're being honest, it's your fault because we've already experienced this type of thing with characters like Byleth, where people regret their purchase later on. So you probably should have just bought 1 through 4 and not 5. And at the end of the day, you can't blame anyone but yourself, and that's about all there is to that. So stop harassing the people who work on the game, giving you the content. Stop harassing people who enjoy the character in the game, and stop being a dickhead. But either way, that's pretty much all I wanted to say in terms of this argument. I feel like this anime sword fighter argument was one that I thought this was going to be a pretty simple video. However, it seems there was a lot more layered to it than I originally thought. I think that once again, if you come at it the right way, this argument isn't as stupid as it sounds, and there's actually sound arguments to it. Once again, I do think there are too many RPG fighters in Smash Bros, and I think the last fighters that get revealed, I hope that they're not RPG fighters, and I hope they're not from an RPG. I hope they represent some other aspect in gaming that's not really in Smash Brothers yet. I do hope that. However, once again, no matter what happens in the future of the DLC or future Smash games DLC, just let's all learn to just get over it. At the end of the day, if a character comes out you don't like, just get over it. Once again, will I be excited that Crash will be in Smash? Not for me, but I will be excited for my friends who want the character in the game. I'm not complaining whatsoever. Just remember that is your opinion. You are entitled to your opinion. Once again, you can hate the whole roster. I'm not even saying that you have to like them all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying chill out on the death threats and things like that, because that's going entirely too far. But that is all from me, gamers. Tell me what you guys think of this argument. Did you guys think that, I was gonna just dunk on this argument like I do everything else? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this episode and want to see what else is on the grill, you guys check out this whole playlist in the description below. And of course, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you guys want more Smash talk on your plate. And with all that being said, you can put your spatulas down now, but keep it sizzling, my Baconators.